Coming up on the world today, 39 people killed in a train collision in Spain. The UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer and other European leaders present united front against the US acquisition of Greenland. Plus, the Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni tells terrorists in his country they will not succeed. Thanks for staying with us this half hour. I'm Amarachi Ubani here in Lagos. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has announced 3 days of mourning and vowed to find answers while he visited the scene of a catastrophic high-speed train collision in Adamawa. He told a press conference today, at this moment, such pain of such tragedy, our thoughts, if directed towards anyone, are to the victims, their families, to whom we want to send our remembrance, our thoughts and our solidarity. Sanchez added, we will find the truth, we will discover the answer, and that when that answer is known with absolute transparency and absolute clarity, we will inform the public through the media. At least 39 people were killed in that collision, nearly 300 others injured, following the high-speed train collision near Cordoba on Sunday evening. The incident, involving 2 passenger trains, occurred at approximately 7:45 local time. Now, according to the rail infrastructure, the accident began when the tail end of an aerial high-speed train traveling from Malaga to Madrid derailed. The derailed carriages spun onto an adjacent track into the path of an oncoming Renfe-Alvia train traveling from Madrid to Huelva. Meanwhile, search and rescue operations continue in the southern part of Adamawa following the high-speed train collision that left at least 39 people dead and dozens more injured. Aerial footage shows emergency teams working at the crash site where several carriages lie wrecked and overturned. Spanish rail infrastructure manager Adif said the crash occurred when a high-speed train traveling from Malaga to Madrid derailed at the entrance of Adamawa crossing onto an adjacent track and striking another train running from Madrid to Huelva, forcing both trains off the rails. The first train was carrying around 300 passengers, according to the operating company. Authorities confirmed around 400 passengers and staff were on board both trains at the time of the collision. The exact cause of the crash remains unknown, but speaking to reporters at Atocha station in Madrid, the Spanish transport minister said investigations are underway to determine what led to the derailment. Sunday's disaster is Spain's deadliest rail accident since 2013, when a high-speed train derailed near Santiago de Compostela, killing at least 80 people. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says US President Donald Trump's plan to impose tariffs on the UK and other countries is completely wrong. While calling it a very serious situation, the UK Prime Minister also seemed to downplay retaliatory tariffs, saying a trade war is in nobody's interest.
On Greenland, the right way to approach an issue of this seriousness is through calm discussion between allies. And let's be clear, the security of Greenland matters. And it will matter more as climate change reshapes the Arctic, as sea routes open and strategic competition intensifies. The High North will require greater attention, greater investment, and stronger collective defence. The United States will be central to that effort, and the UK stands ready to contribute fully alongside our allies through NATO. But there is a principle here that cannot be set aside, because it goes to the heart of how stable and trusted international cooperation works. And so any decision about the future status of Greenland belongs to the people of Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark alone. That right is fundamental, and we support it. Denmark is a close ally of the United Kingdom and of the United States, a proud NATO member that has stood shoulder to shoulder with us including at real human cost in recent decades. Alliances endure because they're built on respect and partnership, not pressure. That is why I said the use of tariffs against allies is completely wrong. It is not the right way to resolve differences within an alliance. Nor is it helpful to frame efforts to strengthen Greenland's security as a justification for economic pressure. Such measures hurt British workers, British businesses, and the British economy. And that is why I've been so clear on this issue. A trade war is in no one's interest. And my job is always to act in the UK's national interest. That is why yesterday I spoke to President Trump, to European leaders, and to the Secretary-General of NATO to find a solution rooted in partnership, facts, and mutual respect. Because that is how strong alliances protect shared interests.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. In the meantime, Danish and Norwegian foreign ministers have reaffirmed multilateral approach to protect the sovereignty of Greenland. Mette Frederiksen said Europe will not be blackmailed by Donald Trump's threats over the territory. The US president has said he will impose a new 10% levy on goods from 8 allied nations if they oppose his proposed takeover of the autonomous Danish territory. Frederiksen and other European leaders issued a joint statement on Sunday saying the tariffs risked undermining transatlantic relations and risk a dangerous downward spiral.
So we will stay on track unless US decide differently. But then at the same time, of course, we need the European Union to respond. I will not develop that response at this press conference. There is close consultation going on among our European friends. I foresee that there will be, also a meeting among foreign ministers, and we will also continue close consultations with those European countries who are not members of the European Union but still integrated in the single market, and even more importantly, a member of NATO, because this is not only about the European Union, it's basically about, the NATO alliance.
Can I add, the very essence of NATO is to protect the sovereign integrity and territorial integrity of its member states. So that's what it's all about, and that is again rooted in the collective right of self-defense in the UN Charter, which is deeply committed. And I want to reiterate what also Lars has said, that we have 2 messages that we share with all the countries we mentioned in this, not only the 8, but with all, I would say, all European countries and Canada, is that on the one hand, we stand with the Kingdom of Denmark in defense of its sovereignty. But we're also ready to do more together with America and with all our allies in the Arctic, and that's exactly why we are stepping up our presence in Greenland, because if there are security concerns, we can meet them jointly, both bilaterally, Denmark and the US, but also as a NATO alliance. And Norway has for decades been arguing that NATO should take a stronger role generally in the Arctic. We would, of course, say that there are other parts of the Arctic where there is more immediate need, but in principle, throughout the Arctic, and out of the 8 countries who happen to be in the Arctic, 7 are NATO members. So we're actually quite well prepared to deal with existing and future security challenges in the Arctic. So that's a dual message that we're sending to our friends in the United States of America.
Danish Foreign Minister Lars Rasmussen and his colleague. The Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has added his voice to the mix, saying he is concerned about Trump's Greenland tariff threat. Countries named by Trump have backed Denmark, warning that the United States military seizure of a territory in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization could collapse the military alliance that Washington leads.
It's a serious situation, and we're concerned. We're concerned about this escalation, to be absolutely clear. We always will support sovereignty and territorial integrity of countries wherever their geographic location is. The future of Greenland, decisions about the future of Greenland, are for Greenland and Denmark to decide. And the security of Greenland, security is first and foremost for them, but very much falls within the responsibilities of NATO. I had conversations with the NATO Secretary General in Paris 10 days ago, within the past 2 weeks at least, about how we're going to further enhance that security umbrella. It's something that Canada is working on already and contributing to. When I say working on within the broader Arctic, the so-called western flank and northern flank of NATO. And that's the job of NATO, and that's the responsibility of NATO partners. I have spoken to our European NATO partners, a number of them, Nordic NATO partners. I've spoken to the Prime Minister of Greenland, and there's a full commitment, not surprisingly, as is appropriate, of NATO partners to the security of Greenland. That's the right way to address this security, and the right way, if I finish and then hand back, in terms of whether it's development of critical minerals, is to develop in partnership.
The joy in the stadium in Morocco as Senegalese fans celebrate the country's win at the just concluded African Cup of Nations. Supporters at the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium sang, they danced, they saluted the players from the stands before pouring out onto the streets. The final was halted late in normal time after Morocco were awarded a penalty for a foul on Brahim Diaz, prompting protests from Senegal's players and a short walk-off towards the tunnel. Play was suspended for nearly 10 minutes before both teams returned and the match resumed. Senegal broke the deadlock in extra time when Papa Gueye scored in the 94th minute, awarding Senegal the lead in extra time until the end of the showdown. This win gives Senegal a second Africa Cup of Nations title, following their 2021 triumph, while Morocco remains without a continental title since 1976, despite reaching the final on home soil. And this happening in Dakar, the Senegalese capital. You can see the crowd erupting in celebration and jubilation as their country took home the cup for the African Cup of Nations. The streets erupting in celebration Sunday night. Supporters filling major roads with cars draped in the Senegalese flags. Police, however, on standby, monitoring the crowd as fans danced on rooftops and in the streets as they watched the match on the big screens. This, of course, was the aftermath of the match on Sunday. Senegal secured the win, emotions running high back home amongst the fans, many attributing the win for Senegal to God, who was with them from the start of the competition. We're off on a short break now on The World Today. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The World Today. The World Economic Forum has officially kicked off today in Davos, Switzerland, bringing together the world's top political leaders, business executives, policymakers and thought leaders for a week of high-level dialogue on the global economy. This year's meeting comes at a critical time as economies grapple with slowing growth, persistent inflation pressures, geopolitical tensions, trade tariffs and rapid technological change. Key discussions at the forum are expected to center on global growth prospects, the future of technology and artificial intelligence, climate action and energy transition, as well as the major trends likely to shape markets and investment flows in 2026. Nigeria unveils Davos Nigeria House amidst the meetings as the delegations led by the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, including the Minister of Trade, among other dignitaries, were also present. The investment and trade present the investment and trade opportunities to investors from Nigeria.
Nigeria is out to further explain its reforms under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As you know, they're beginning to yield dividend. So we've had a stable currency. We have foreign exchange reserves in excess of $43 billion. Treasury bills, sovereign bonds are doing well with yields of 8 to 10%. We have tax reforms. We have reforms in the oil and gas sector, Petroleum Industry Act, and corporate governance. So this story has to be told, and it has to be told by us. Otherwise, others will frame the narrative for us, and it might not be in our best interest. And for us in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we're also here to engage. We're going to have some very serious meetings with some of the major big tech players, because we also want to be involved early enough in AI governance. We've created an AI unit in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We want to discuss the issue of migration. We're concerned about our diaspora. We're concerned about security in our region, because this is not just a business gathering. It is business, it is government, it is civil society organizations. It's all of that. And governments, of course, that are coming from all parts of the world.
Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar. To Uganda now, where President Yoweri Museveni on Sunday labeled members of the opposition terrorists, accusing them of attempting to use violence to overturn the results of the country's recent presidential election, in which he was declared the winner a seventh time. Museveni, who's ruled Uganda since 1986, warned the opposition against continuing destabilizing actions. He issued free advice to his rivals, saying, "We don't want our country to be like Libya, so to all the traitors, this is free advice from me. Stop what you're doing, because we know everything and you will not succeed." He also outlined priorities for his next term, placing the fight against poverty at the top of his agenda. He also stressed the need to reform the education and health sectors, while criticizing corruption within government institutions.
There will be no opposition in Uganda, I can assure you. But some of the opposition are wrong and also terrorists. Now, the plan everywhere was that where NUP is defeated, gangs with the pangas. You remember pangas? With the pangas should attack the polling station. And that's what they did. When Chivimba was defeated, they came with the pangas to attack the polling station, and they were shot. 7 of them were shot dead there with the pangas. We don't want our country to be like Libya. So all the traitors, this is free advice from me, that please stop what you're doing, because we know everything. and he will not do it, either peacefully or unpeacefully, we shall maintain peace in Uganda. That's number one. We must end poverty in our homes, because it is that poverty which opens gate for all these other problems. The other area is education. Free education in government schools.
The Ugandan president re-elected a seventh time, Yoweri Museveni, will move to Abu Dhabi, where the International Kids Fashion Week kicked off on Sunday at the Emirates Palace. At the UAE capital, with Russia, the Philippines, Kazakhstan, Zambia, Morocco and the UAE all taking part, it marks the first time the event has been held in the Arab world. Young models walk the runways, showing off many and varied designs and trends. A show featured a wide range of designs from haute couture to traditional outfits, with the audience drawn from around the world. One of the participants explained that she'd been organizing the show for over 20 years and was delighted to be invited to stage it in the UAE.
Хочу сказать, что сегодняшний фестиваль – это не просто показ мод.
Just realizing only a portion of our viewers understand Russian. Thanks for watching The World Today. I'm Amarachi Ubani.